Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from the Iowa City Community Theater production of Inherit the Wind. Josh Sazon is back. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Scott Hughes,
Hi,
nice to
Dennis.
have you here.
Thanks for having
And Brian Tanner.
Hello.
Brian is the director of the play, and Scott and Josh are the two principals. Now, as we were talking beforehand, we are all four of us extremely familiar with this show, but not everybody is. But it's the dramatization of the famous Scopes Monkey trial with Clarence Darrow and William Jennings Bryan, who are thinly disguised with aliases.
very thinly.
Yeah.
It's very thin.
Josh, starting with you, tell me about your role in this, and we'll go to Scott.
Well, I'm playing Henry Drummond, who is the fictional counterpart of another fairly well-known lawyer back in the early 20th century, Clarence Darrow. He was actually one of the lawyers in the Scopes Monkey trial, and essentially the big centerpiece of the whole show is Darrow interrogating William Jennings Bryan, who is the other lawyer representing the evolutionist. No, not the evolutionist. I'm sorry, the creationist the camp. So a lot of fun to be had, and quite frankly, it's still a very pertinent script after all these years.
And Scott, that puts you in the Bryan seat, as it will.
Yes. Matthew Harrison Brady is the name that is given to him in this script, and he is a populist, an orator. Many references in the script to his shaking tent poles at Chautauqua meetings. He's a very powerful speaker. Presidential candidate, ran and lost 3 times, which is exactly like William Jennings Bryan. As I say, very thinly disguised characterization. And Brady is in town to prosecute the teacher who dared to teach evolution in his science classroom.
For those who, if you aren't quite up on your early 20th century history, there was a teacher who taught evolution in the classroom, and it was against the law at the time, and it was a trial of historic proportions. Brian, before we dive specifically into the play, I'm sure that you've looked into this, and was it as sensational at the time as we imagined that it was?
It really did seem at the time to be the trial of the century. It was one that was really thrust into the spotlight. I think it hit a lot of feelings at the time. Public education was kind of coming into its own at the time. So you had a lot of discussions about what should and should not be taught in the classroom, and it was based on community standards at the time. A lot of rural people were involved, so they, of course, wanted their own perceptions and viewpoints taught to their kids, and to turn over their kids over to the education system was still pretty new. So, frankly, still relevant today when we're, criticizing teachers, and, you have all those controversies. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because, we're dealing with the same thing 100 years later with parents saying, teach my kids according to my beliefs, not necessarily according to, what educational standards might be. So as I said, y'all have history with this. When you dove back into it for this, was it Scott? Was it how you remembered it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I for some reason I have a copy of the script that I think I had in college, and so when this came about, and I was I reviewed the script and went through all that. This is actually a little bit changed. It's a little bit newer adaptation, although not much. But the story, it's still there, and like we were talking before we got started. All the years that I had wanted to do this since high school, wanted to do this show, I always had my eyes on the Drummond role. And there were lots of times in shows where I would, here in Cedar Rapids, I'd be in a show with a fellow actor who was an attorney, and he'd always say, "Oh yeah, you could be Drummond and I'll play Brady." And then the show came out, and I'm Brady, which is it's a joy. He's such a fun character to play. He's so bombastic and over the top, and the fact that he even though it's not a lot like me with this dismissal of everything that's science related, it's a lot of fun. So much fun to duel with Josh on the stand when we get to that part of Act Two.
Likewise, it is
Yeah.
great fun.
Well, and then Josh, so the Drummond role in this is very interesting because he goes at Brady tooth and nail, and spoilers for a 70-year-old play, it ends up being a little bit of a Pyrrhic victory for him.
It is. It is. Well, it is a Pyrrhic victory for Brady as well, because technically he actually
Technically,
won.
again,
He
spoilers for a 70-year-old
I'm
play.
so
Brady
sorry.
wins.
So it's not. But I really have enjoyed this show. I have probably a little bit less history from these two other gentlemen. I don't quite remember when I first ran into the show itself. It might have been the movie that I ran into, and it was remarkably effective diving into it again, and seeing how well it takes even in this contemporary times. And I'm not just talking in terms of the message of the play, although that certainly is pertinent. But it's also so entertaining. If you enjoy a bunch of, I don't know, balding, middle-aged, older men bitching at each other, it's
who
great.
doesn't, right?
Who doesn't? There's also
I think that's called C-SPAN, right? Yeah.
right. That's why we watch C-SPAN. There's also a torrid love affair, which Brian was very good about being chased at.
Yes.
So lots of fun for everyone. So I'm just saying that it's not necessarily just a message play, which is probably might be what most people might be thinking about, that this is all so serious. No, it's not. It's great fun. I enjoy, puncturing his ego.
Brian, the courtroom drama is probably the thing that we imagine that we are the most familiar with, because it seems like every third show on network television is a courtroom drama. And the reality is different. So this kind of lives in that liminal space in between. So, in from a staging and directorial point of view, what were you, how affected were you by kind of all our preconceived notions of what a courtroom and a trial looks like?
Yeah, well, on face value, I mean, we can kind of lean into the whole celebrityness of this trial, and that was a big draw for it back in the time too, of when it became the big sensational case, that you had these two high-powered attorneys and famous people coming into this, and so it was something that made people want to pay attention. As far as incorporating, what's come before and what's might be different about this one, is that we really did try to, while we were designing the set and incorporating everything, is to actually try and include the town as a character into the play. So the town, the way it's staged, is also a focus of the courtroom. So the town has influence over one, and the courtroom has influence over the other. So they're always kind of coming and going with each other.
It takes place in Tennessee.
It in the script itself, it just mentions Hillsboro. It doesn't really. It tries to kind of stay away from a specific place, but the original trial was Tennessee. Yeah. But yeah, we just tried to merge everything, so it's a little meta spots, or just trying to take both. How could we make the town kind of oversee the trial, and have that influence?
Yeah, it would be easy, I suspect, with the focus being on these two characters and that climactic testifying scene, for the rest of it to to kind of lose focus. So so very good figuring out that kind of that third character, third or fourth, I guess.
Yeah, we certainly have an excellent supporting cast that is really adding to all of the elements of the show. And I think that really is going to bring in the audience into it too, and hopefully they will feel immersed into this into this set as part of the courtroom audience, as it were. In fact, we'll have seating that's available for people to sit in as part of the jury if they want to.
Oh, nice. Oh, very fun.
I'm, the point he made up about the town being another character. The courtroom and the town are both visible the entire
Mhm.
show. That's the way the design is set up.
Mhm.
And the supporting cast, the townspeople are a character of their own, and we depend on their reactions to what's going on in the trial. And they're doing such a great job.
Yep.
It's so much fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, yeah, because this is another difference between this and many plays is, while the supporting cast, any supporting cast always has important parts, but a lot of what they do is they sit and listen and react
Right.
to what you two are doing.
Right.
Yes, and that can be a very challenging part in itself, just to stay focused, what is happening, anticipating those reactions that they need to make. It can be very hard just to be there, sitting the whole time, but
And
yet
not
still paying
anticipate,
attention.
and try and react in real time.
Exactly.
That is much more of an acting challenge than you might imagine.
Yes.
The show is Inherit the Wind, running 2 weekends at the
Yes.
Iowa City Community Theater. Okay, so I know there's I know that the theater is going to move at some point. Have we moved? Are we
No.
still at the fairgrounds?
Is it
Okay.
the fairgrounds? Yes.
I know there's a plan.
Yes.
There's a plan coming about to
Right.
move, to move to a different location. So,
Mhm.
so still in the classic Iowa City Community Theater location.
Yes, the
On the-
Johnson County
And
Fairgrounds.
south edge of Iowa City.
Yes.
If people want tickets, how do they get them?
It's the website, iowacity.communitytheater.org, I believe.
.org.
Yes. And so they can
And
get
if you
them
add- I
online.
think if
there.
you add /tickets, it takes you right to the ticket page.
Okay.
Okay. Well, and if people are watching the video, that link is appearing underneath our smiling faces right now, even as we speak. So, as I say, as I said at the top, this is one of my favorite plays ever. So, very excited, and
I hope you get to see it.
yeah, that's my plan. I hope to. But good luck with it, and and just have fun tearing into each other.
Yes.
We are.
Oh, yeah. It's such a joy to watch. So electric, their scenes. Yes.
Inherit the Wind, February 2nd through the 11th. Visit the Iowa City Community Theater online for tickets. Thanks again for being with me, gentlemen.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:30, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or using your favorite podcast app. Our video producer is Lydia Kilgore. I'm Dennis Green. I'll talk to you later.